Samantha Carter had never been the loud one at work. She wasn't the kind to raise her hand in meetings just to be noticed or stay late to impress anyone. She stayed late because she cared. She worked hard because she needed to, not because someone was watching. At 32, she had built a quiet but strong reputation in her Seattle marketing firm. People respected her. They knew she was reliable, but they didn't know much else. Not even her boss, Daniel Reed. He was the kind of man who filled a room without trying. Always calm, always confident. He wore tailored suits and spoke with a kind of tone that made people stop talking just to hear what he'd say next. He wasn't cold, just private, professional, sharp. The kind of leader who didn't get too close to anyone. Samantha had always admired that about him. But from a distance, until the day everything changed. It had been a long, stressful week. Samantha had led a client pitch that didn't go well. She had stayed up late for nights trying to make it perfect. When the client politely declined the proposal, Samantha held it together through the meeting. But afterward, she escaped to the break room, hoping for a few minutes alone. She didn't cry often, but that day, the frustration and the exhaustion finally caught up with her. She sat at the far end of the break room, facing the window, wiping her eyes with a tissue, trying to compose herself before anyone walked in, and then someone did. Samantha. She turned quickly, startled. It was Daniel. He didn't look surprised to see her like that. Concerned, yes, but not awkward. I'm fine, she said quickly, standing up. Just a long week. He didn't move. You don't have to pretend with me. You've been carrying a lot. I see it. His voice was lower than usual. Not sharp like it was in meetings. Gentle. I should get back to my desk, she mumbled. He stepped forward, keeping his tone kind. You don't have to. Sit with me a minute. She hesitated, then sat back down. He sat across from her, resting his elbows lightly on the table. For a moment, neither of them said anything. The hum of the vending machine filled the silence. You worked hard on that pitch, he finally said. I know it didn't go the way we hoped, but I was impressed by your dedication. I should have said that earlier. She blinked. Compliments from Daniel weren't common, and when they came, they felt real. Thank you, she said softly. I guess I just took it personally. We all do sometimes, he said. It means you care. It was such a simple thing, but it stayed with her for days after. The way he had looked at her, not like a boss talking to his employee, but like someone who saw her, really saw her. From then on, something between them changed. It started small. A longer pause in the hallway. A quiet smile during team calls. Once, after a meeting, she caught him holding the elevator just for her, even though others were already inside. He didn't say anything about it, just smiled as the doors closed. She started to notice little things, how he always remembered her ideas from meetings, even when others talked over her. How he asked her opinion before big presentations. How he always seemed to know when she needed space. And when she didn't, they began to talk more, quick chats in the break room. Longer conversations in the hall after everyone else had left. It wasn't flirting, not really. But it wasn't nothing either. Once, during a late evening at the office, they both reached for the same document on the printer. Their hands touched for a second. They looked at each other and laughed, awkward and warm. I guess we both don't know how to go home, he said. Joking. Or maybe we just like the quiet, she replied. That night, she walked to her car with a strange feeling in her chest, like something was shifting. She didn't know what it meant. And she tried not to read into it. He was her boss. He had always kept a professional boundary. But still, her heart didn't feel the same. Then, one afternoon, her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel's assistant. Mr. Reed would like to meet with you briefly. His office now. She swallowed hard. She hadn't done anything wrong. But something about the tone of the message made her nervous. She grabbed her notebook and walked down the hall, her heels tapping softly on the floor. When she entered his office, he stood near the window, hands in his pockets. He turned and gave her a smile, not the usual one. It felt different. Close the door, please, he said. She did. Her heartbeat picked up. He motioned toward the chair across from his desk. Sit down, Samantha. She sat slowly, notebook in hand. "I won't keep you long," he began, then paused. He looked at her and something in his face changed. Like he wasn't just a boss anymore. He looked human. "There's something I need to say," he said carefully. "Something I've been holding back for a while." Samantha's fingers tightened around the pen in her hand. "She didn't breathe," Daniel continued. "I know we've worked together a long time, and I've always respected you not just as a team member, but as a person. I admire how you think, how you lead quietly, how you make people feel seen without trying." She felt her face grow warm, and "I've tried to ignore it," he added. "But the truth is, I think I care about you more than I should." The room seemed to shrink. Her mind spun. "I know this is risky to say," he went on, "and I'm not asking for anything from you. But I didn't want to keep pretending like nothing is there. Because, for me, something is." Samantha stared at him. Words caught in her throat. He looked down for a moment, then met her eyes again. "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." She nodded slowly, heart pounding, unsure what this meant, but certain of one thing. Nothing at work would ever feel the same again. Samantha walked out of Daniel's office feeling like the ground had shifted under her feet. The air in the hallway felt different, like it was filled with questions she didn't have answers to. She clutched her notebook tightly, barely remembering what he had said at the end. Something about not needing to respond, about just wanting her to know. But how could she not respond? Daniel Reed, her boss, the man who'd always been calm, in control and completely professional, had just told her that he cared about her more than he should. She didn't even remember walking back to her desk. Everything after that felt like a blur. Her thoughts raced all day. She couldn't focus. Every time she looked up from her screen, she found herself scanning the office to see if Daniel was nearby. But he stayed in his office, door closed. The silence between them over the next few days was louder than words. They didn't talk much. He still greeted her in the morning, still acted normal in meetings. But there was something in his eyes, now something careful. He was giving her space, okay? And she could feel it. And it confused her more than she expected. Samantha kept replaying their last conversation in her head. There was no pressure in his voice, no expectations, just honesty. And yet it stirred something in her that she had pushed down for months, maybe even longer. She had noticed him, of course. Not just his looks, but the way he led. The way he listened even when no one else did. The way he treated her ideas with respect. The way he had supported her quietly through hard weeks, without asking for anything in return. But she had never allowed herself to think past that. He was her boss. Lines like that didn't get crossed. Still, the line felt blurry now, and her heart wasn't sure what to do. One evening, long after most of the office had emptied out, Samantha stayed late to finish a project. The quiet helped her focus, or at least it used to. But now the silence was filled with questions. She was packing up her things when she noticed Daniel's light still on. Through the glass, she saw him at his desk, typing something. Before she could think twice, she walked down the hallway and knocked lightly on his door. He looked up, surprised but not unkind. Hey, she said, stepping in. "Still working?" He gave a small smile. "You know me." She nodded, then paused. "Can we talk?" He stood immediately serious. "Of course. Do you want to sit?" She shook her head. "No, this won't take long." He waited. Samantha took a breath. "I've been thinking about what you said. A lot. I figured you might be," he said quietly. "I didn't know how to react," she continued. "It caught me off guard. But not in a bad way." He said nothing, letting her speak. "I guess I just never expected someone like you to see me that way." His voice was gentle. "Why not?" "Because I've always been in the background. I'm not the one people notice first. I'm not flashy or loud. I just do my job." Daniel stepped around his desk, leaning on the edge of it. "That's exactly why I noticed you. You care. You don't do things for show. And you make this place better even when no one says it out loud." Samantha looked down. "This is all new to me. I don't know how to handle it." I understand, he said. I didn't tell you to make things harder. I just didn't want to keep pretending there was nothing between us. There is something, she admitted. I just don't know what to do with it. His voice lowered. We don't have to do anything. Not now. I'll never cross a line you're not comfortable with. I just want to be honest. There was a long silence between them. A comfortable one. Finally, she smiled just a little. You're not as terrifying as I thought you were. He laughed softly, glad to hear it. She looked at him. Really looked. I don't want this to ruin what we've built. At work? I've worked too hard for that. It won't, he said quickly. We'll keep everything professional. No pressure, no rush, just maybe an open door between us. Samantha nodded slowly. That sounds fair. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. I'm not saying no. I just need time. That's more than enough, he said. As she walked back to her desk, something inside her felt lighter. Not because things were simple, but because they were honest. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. In the following days, things settled into a quiet balance. Daniel kept his word. He didn't treat her differently in front of others. They still worked side by side like they always had. But there were moments small, quiet moments when their eyes met across a room and said things words couldn't. One morning, he left a note on her desk. Just a sticky note. No pressure. Just coffee. Saturday. Just us. Just friends. Think about it. Daishi smiled when she read it. He wasn't pushing. He was offering that weekend. She said yes, not because she was certain, but because part of her wanted to see where this could go. Not as an employee, not as a boss, but as two people drawn together by something neither of them expected, and maybe something worth exploring after that quiet invitation for coffee. Samantha felt a mixture of nervousness and hope she hadn't experienced in a long time. The weekend came quickly, and she found herself standing outside a small, cozy cafe in downtown Seattle. The city buzzed around her, but inside the cafe, the world felt quieter. Gentler. Daniel was already there when she arrived, sitting near the window with a soft smile. He looked different, away from the office, less the stern boss and more a man just wanting to enjoy a simple moment. Hi, he said, standing to greet her. Hi, she replied, trying to steady her racing heart. They ordered coffee and settled into a corner table, away from the chatter of other patrons, for a while. They talked about easy things, books they liked, music, the weather. Samantha felt herself relax, letting the weight of work and worry slip away. Then Daniel's voice grew softer. I've wanted to do this for a long time, but I wasn't sure you felt the same. She looked at him, caught off guard. I'm still not sure what I feel. He nodded. That's okay. I'm not asking for answers. I just want to be honest about how I feel. And I want you to know there's no pressure, no expectations. Samantha smiled. Thank you for that. The coffee warmed her hands as they talked more about their dreams, regrets, and fears. The gap between boss and employee slowly disappeared. But when the coffee cups were empty and the sky outside darkened, Samantha felt a sudden wave of doubt. Daniel, what if this changes everything? What if it makes work uncomfortable? I can't afford to lose my job or respect. He reached across the table, briefly touching her hand. I don't want to lose what we have either. That's why I'm willing to take things slow. If it ever feels wrong, we stop. No questions asked. She nodded, though inside, the fear didn't fully fade. In the days after their coffee date, the office atmosphere shifted again, but this time with new tension. Neither of them spoke directly about the date. They kept their conversations professional, but the silence between them held unspoken emotions. Samantha found herself overthinking every glance, every smile. She wondered if Daniel's respect was still genuine, or if it was now mixed with something more complicated. Daniel, too, seemed guarded. He gave her space, but watched her from across the room, concern written on his face. One afternoon, as Samantha stayed late finishing a presentation, she noticed Daniel lingering nearby. He finally spoke, voice low. Are you okay? She looked up, surprised. I am just tired, he nodded. I know things feel different right now. They do. He took a small step closer, then stopped himself. I don't want you to feel pressured. You're the most important part of this, not just as an employee, but as a person. She swallowed hard. Thank you, Daniel. That means a lot. They stood quietly, the weight of unspoken feelings heavy between them. Weeks passed, and their cautious dance continued. They grew closer without rushing, each learning to read the other's signals, to respect boundaries. Samantha found herself smiling more, feeling lighter than she had in years. One evening, after a successful client meeting, the whole team went out to celebrate. The bar was lively, full of laughter and music. Daniel and Samantha found themselves standing together, slightly apart from the crowd. He leaned in, voice almost a whisper. I'm glad you came. Me too. For a moment, the noise around them faded, and all she saw was humanist, kind, and undeniably present. But before anything could happen, a colleague interrupted, and the moment passed. On the drive home, Samantha's mind replayed the evening. She wanted more, but wasn't ready to risk everything. Over the next few days, Daniel seemed distracted, often lost in thought. Finally, he called her into his office. I need to be honest, he said, eyes steady. I'm struggling with how to balance this, my feelings for you and our professional relationship. She nodded. I feel the same. It's hard to know what's right. He smiled sadly. Maybe we need to take a step back. Focus on work for a while. Her heart sank, but she agreed. Maybe that's best. For the next few weeks, they kept their distance. No late meetings, no lingering looks. It was painful but necessary. Yet even apart, their connection lingered. A quiet promise that wasn't forgotten. Samantha knew the path ahead was uncertain. But she also knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened, she and Daniel had changed each other forever. After weeks of keeping distance, Samantha felt a strange emptiness at work. The absence of Daniel's quiet presence made the office feel colder, less alive. She missed their conversations, the way he seemed to understand her without words. But she also understood why they had stepped back. Was the only way to protect what mattered most, their jobs, their respect for each other. Still, the silence between them grew heavier. Samantha could tell Daniel was struggling just as much as she was. His usual calm demeanor was replaced by moments of distraction. Brief flashes of vulnerability that surprised her. One rainy afternoon, Samantha was finishing a report when her phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. Can we talk? Not about work. Her heart skipped. She hesitated, then replied, Yes. When? Now. I'm still at the office. She grabbed her coat and walked to his office. He was waiting, standing by the window, watching the rain fall softly against the glass. Hey, she said quietly. Hey, he replied. Turning to face her, there was a heaviness in his eyes that Samantha hadn't seen before. I've been thinking, he began, about us. About what we're doing, what we're trying to do. She nodded, waiting. I don't want to lose you, he said. Not as my employee and not as something more. Samantha's throat tightened. I don't want to lose you either. He took a step closer. But this isn't easy. I've been wrestling with how to make it right, how to balance everything without hurting either of us. She looked down, her fingers nervously twisting a strand of hair. Maybe we're trying too hard to control things. Daniel smiled softly. Maybe we are. She looked up, meeting his gaze. What if we stop worrying about what's right or wrong and just see where this goes? He took her hand gently, his touch warm and reassuring. I'd like that. For the first time in weeks. Samantha felt hope bloom in her chest. They spent the next few weeks quietly exploring their new relationship. It wasn't flashy or rushed, it was honest and patient. They learned how to separate their work life from their personal feelings. At the office, they were still colleagues, respectful and professional. But outside, they shared laughter, long conversations, and moments of simple joy. One evening, Daniel invited Samantha to a small dinner at his apartment. The city lights twinkled beyond the window as they talked late into the night. I never imagined things could be like this, Samantha admitted. I thought love and work had to be separate. Daniel reached across the table, taking her hand. Sometimes the best things happen when we take risks. She smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't known she needed. But life wasn't without its challenges. They faced moments of doubt, fears of what others might think, and the pressure of keeping their relationship discreet. Still, each obstacle made their bond stronger. Then came the day when the company announced a restructuring. Daniel's position was under review, and Samantha's job was at risk too. The uncertainty tested their strength. "We don't know what's going to happen," Daniel said, worry in his voice. "But whatever comes, we face it together." Samantha nodded, squeezing his hand. Together. The weeks that followed were tense. Rumors floated around the office, and both tried to keep their focus amid the chaos. Through it all, they supported each other, Daniel encouraging Samantha to apply for a new role, Samantha reminding Daniel of his worth. Finally, the day arrived. Both had been offered new positions, different roles, but opportunities to stay with the company. Relief washed over them, but so did the realization that their journey was far from over. One quiet afternoon, as they walked through a nearby park, Daniel stopped and turned to Samantha. "I want to ask you something," he said, voice steady but full of feeling. Her heart raced. "Will you be more than just my partner in life? Will you be my partner in everything, through the good and the uncertain?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Daniel, I will." He pulled her into a gentle embrace, and for a moment the world felt right again. Their story wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was theirs, a story of courage, honesty, and the power of connection when two people dared to be brave enough to follow their hearts. And as they walked hand in hand, Samantha knew one thing for sure. Whatever the future held, they would face it side by side.